Welcome to Bitter Reality Brewing. Yes, this is the Blichmann BrewEasy Compact Review. Now this is what I consider a first impressions review. Let me get about, 12 to maybe 20 some brews under my belt with this system, and then I'll give you a deep dive brew review per se. Don't forget, like, subscribe, keep sharing. Okay, I've got a lot of pros, a handful of cons, and yes, I've got a lot of what I call need to know. I even have one in there from Brian. Thanks, Brian. Maybe I probably should say that with some sarcasm. From Short Circuited Brewers, he mentioned something. He didn't say to do it. He just mentioned it would probably be a great idea, and it was a very bad idea. And we'll get into that. So you don't want to miss that. Stay tuned. Let's jump into this right away. I've got a couple brews under my belt. I've got a mock brew under my belt, which means basically going through a brew day with hot water and cleaning and going through both with, my PBW and my Star Sand and just getting everything nice and clean and understanding, checking the seals, things like that. So I didn't feel like I really was qualified or had enough information to really provide a review until one of the viewers out there, asked me a simple question about the BrewEasy Compact. He was looking to purchase one and want to know what I thought, and I wrote him a book. I was shocked at how much information was just on the very top of my head without even thinking about it. I knew so many things, and like I said, the majority are pros. I'll take that back. The majority are need to knows probably, but I have a lot of pros and I have a small handful of cons which are easily overcome. So since this video is not gonna be crazy short, I'm gonna jump right in and try to shorten it up a little bit. A little less chitter chatter, you know what I'm saying? Sorry. Let's go into pros. Number one, the system build. Okay, the build quality is basically absolutely top notch. I swear Blichmann made the RipTide Pump insanely heavy just so older people like me go, wow, that's some quality there. I get a workout every time I lift that thing up. But my comparison, because a lot of people are like, well, I have the Anvil Foundry, which I have too, bought both of them. Brewzilla, another great system. Grainfather, I've got some issues, I've owned two. It's kind of like you go from a do-it-yourself, AKA kit car, that would be, you just have a pot, maybe a brew in a bag, in the pot, nothing special. Then you step up to either a Ford Escort or maybe even a Mustang LX, 4-cylinder, and you get some cool features and you're like, hey, this is great. And that would be your Anvil Foundry, your Brewzilla, your Grainfather, great systems, nice systems. I like using them. I'm very confident using it. I enjoy it. But then you step up and you go, you know what? I want the Mustang GT. Okay. We're not talking Corvette, you want the Corvette, you got the rims and all the other different systems that Blichmann makes and many other companies out there, but this is your Mustang and this is your GT, you're getting your 5.0. It is just a beast. It is a great, everything is solid. If I dropped it, I probably would hurt my foot and probably end up in the emergency room. Everything is solid. So quality, hands down, not a question. Number two, the system can be fine-tuned beyond what most people can humanly imagine, probably, mainly through the BrewCommander. This thing, just amazing. You can even add a relay system and run multiple burners. So yeah, extremely customizable. You can even move the plugs to the bottom. So you don't have, based on how you want to set it up, it's just extremely customizable. Like I said, beyond what most people would even imagine doing. So somebody spent some serious engineering time on that. Number three, and this I know a lot of people are always asking me about with the Anvil, so this is definitely something important. Heating times were probably about 20% faster than what the system was even pre-configured as far as what they consider the ramp up. Definitely faster than my Anvil by at least 20%. Just amazing just the heat up times, just very fast, quick. We all know sometimes that's part of our brew day, especially if you're operating on a 110, 120. This is a 240 system that I'm talking about. So yeah, your mileage may vary if you drop down to the 120. Understand, I love my jaded Scylla, okay? But I was blown away, and I do mean blown away, by the workout of the Therminator. Yeah, the Therminator, it's a plate chiller. Yes, I put some quick disconnects on here for my hose system. I know that it may restrict some of the liquid flow, but yeah, it's a beast. It does a great job. I will say, I had amazing performance even with Florida water, and our water comes out of the tap pretty warm. around the 70s, during the summer, sometimes hotter. If you have cool tap water, this thing will do the job. If you have a lot of ice, it'll definitely do the job. It may even save you some water. It does a great job. It does include the mounting bracket here, so you can mount it somewhere permanently if you're not moving it around like I do. I move everything around, so it just is what it is. So, number 5, the RipTide. It's a beast. I don't know if I can say that more, but yeah, it's a beast. I don't feel that anyone in home brewing needs anything this powerful. I mean, yeah, and like I said, you know, it's heavier than the Therminator, which is, yeah, this thing rocks. It is an absolute beast. It gets the job done. If you're gonna be brewing with a lot of hop matter, I don't think it would even hesitate to just pump that right on through. Definitely, just absolute beast. I can never imagine having an issue with this thing. I could probably start doing maple syrup through it and it would just pump it out like it was just regular liquid. It's just a beast. I know I said customizable, but I meant the whole entire system is extremely customizable. Like I can take the whirlpool off and just cover the port. I can add more ports. I can do just about anything with this system, which is really cool. But I know I mentioned the BrewCommander, but number 6 is the BrewCommander and what it can do and the customizing of what's already available. I mean, I'm still learning this thing. It is a little confusing. There is so much that it can do. And there's a lot of things that when you first get it, you're just gonna ignore it and you're gonna focus on the basic functionality. But ramp up times can be fine-tuned. Temps can be calibrated. Now, ramp up times, they can vary based on your grain bill, so think about that. Different types of alarms can be set, start delay, and probably a handful of other things I'm not even thinking of. Like I mentioned, you can add a relay and run multiple burners. Just insane, right up inside the system. Number 7, we're still on the BrewCommander. Automated step mashing, up to 5 steps, 9 profiles can be customized, and that way you can save your different profiles. I know a lot of people brew very similar beers all the time. I'm definitely guilty of that. I do it all the time. There's certain types and styles I like a lot. So yeah, you can program that type of settings in here, have 9 different profiles. One thing I do wish, shout out to Blichmann, I wish you could somehow change the word profile 1, profile 2, profile 3 to like, you know, profile IPA, caramel, you know, different things like that, multi-beer, things like that, you know, big beer. Sticking on here, number 8, yes, boil edition timers, up to 7 editions, 9 profiles. I mean, yeah, I love it. Sometimes this thing's alarming and I'm like, what is that alarm for? Based on how many things I've said, I gotta keep track of it. But yeah, just amazing, amazing things. This thing is really like the brains to the thing. And I think maybe the RipTide would be like the heart, but maybe that's the heart. I don't know, we'll figure it out. Number 9, temperature accuracy. And I say that because I took a temp probe that I tested and had basically trusted. And I put it up against this temp probe. Yeah, they were both identical, and every now and then when they weren't, it was 0.1 of variance, and that 0.1 of variance could have been either way, because sometimes you're talking really 0.05, but it's showing as 0.1 because that's just where the temperatures are showing. Yeah, temperature accuracy is just spot on, no questions there. Number 10, I know this is pretty cool because I've had some people ask about it, and I believe Blichmann does sell it separately now, right here, flow control. Yeah, the flow control, it's a monitoring system. It's not really the control. You're still controlling it from your pump. But yeah, the monitoring was really cool. I will say during my 2 brews, the first 10 minutes, maybe a little less than 10 minutes, it moved a little. So I had to wait and once things were in harmony, adjust it just to where I wanted it. But it's really cool to be able to know how much liquid is flowing and to be able to adjust it for your brew so that, you know, you're not getting all these craziness going on, but it's actually flowing nice and smoothly. Love that. Just absolutely love that. Number 11, and I know with the Anvil, Brewzilla, Grainfather, and all the other systems that people use, clear beer comes and goes. But this system, that grain basket, I have seen nothing but extremely clear wort. Very, very impressed with how clear the wort is. That thing's a beast. It does a great job inside the beast. Number 12, and this is huge for me since I used to have grain fathers and scorching was a problem with those high density burners. The reason I went to Anvil Foundries, low density burners. Well, these burners are not right on the bottom. I have not had any scorching issues. You don't have to worry about the scorching issues. I don't need to take my big wood mash paddle and rub the bottom. There's no scorching issues. Yeah, I just don't, and I'm smaller, easier for the camera. But yeah, I don't. It's not an issue. Don't need to worry about that. Don't need the wooden mash paddle. It's just amazing. I do love my wood mash paddle, but I don't need it for this. So it works really good. Number 13, cleaning. Cleaning the system was super easy, straightforward. The grain basket did need a little extra detail or attention to detail. I do see I have little bits of particles from grain still in it, so maybe I didn't do the best job, but yeah, it does stick a little to the mesh, but that's it. Everything else, super easy to clean. That was 13 pros. Yes, I'll probably have more at the end of the year when I do a complete review on everything, but I promised some cons, and the number one con, which is the piece that frustrated me the most and annoyed me the most, it's super easy to work around and even just as easy to fix, but it's the flow out of the pump. And I know everybody's thinking, what is he talking about? He said that thing's a beast. It is a beast. The problem isn't the actual pump. It's you have a flow and you have 3 possible places for it to go. It's either gonna go through the monitoring and into the recirculation arm, all great, or it's gonna go over here to the whirlpooling, which most of the time, you're just gonna have it capped off. There's no reason to even do whirlpooling unless you're doing like an IPA or something like that. But yeah, so I have those are 2, and I only have 1 hose out. So I got 1, 2, or the Therminator, so that I can actually cool the liquid down and run it into the actual fermenter. My problem with that is to disconnect this from one of these 3 locations causes liquid to spill. Yes, I'm closing the pump. Yes, I can close this. This I can't. I'm gonna have some liquid up here. I will say when I stop the pump, it goes down a little, so it's not so bad. My workaround, and then I'll tell you the solution. That's my workaround, right there. Good old Pyrex. I simply put the Pyrex under, get the BrewCommander out of the way for a second. I take the Pyrex, I put it under here, I disconnect the hose, I move it to wherever I'm moving it to. No problem. I catch the majority of the liquid, I spill very little, it's all good. Now you're thinking, how would you solve it? Blichmann sells the solution. Blichmann sells a 3-way valve, which you can get as a tri-clamp system, but they sell a 3-way valve that allows you to either do an L-type or a T-type. L-type goes one or the other way. T-type you can do 2 ways, so you can actually have it going in the whirlpool and recirc or something crazy like that. Or you could have it, I don't know, you can do all kinds of things, but it's up to you. But yes, a 3-way valve. If I have that hooked up, then when the liquid's flowing here and I need to change it and make it go over to the cooling system, I can just change it. Now I'm gonna lose a little bit of liquid, but you know, it's my choice versus having to sit there and catch it. But yeah, or if I'm going to the whirlpooling, maybe I did decide to catch it, I moved it over here with the 3-way because I can only go 2 other places. Then I'm moving it over to the Therminator. Yeah, they sell it on their site. It's inexpensive, it's stainless steel, it'll solve your problems. But that's my only real big con that drove me a little nuts. And I was like, how am I gonna do this? I've got hot wort in there and it's been boiling, what am I doing? So, or almost boiling based on where I'm moving it to. So that's just something to be aware of. Number 2, yes, it's a con, but might be a non-issue, but I need to do more testing. And I just want to make sure you're aware, but I'm gonna leave it in the cons for now, is that the flow system for flow monitoring, Blichmann recommends 0.75 gallons per minute. It's the recommended flow rate. My problem is that at that rate, I was seeing a ton of channeling in 9-pound, a little over 9-pound grain bills. I was seeing a lot of channeling, and the reason I'm saying it may be a non-issue for that is that I was almost getting 4 little whirlpools from the actual, you know, recirculation was pushing so quick, the grains were just kind of moving around. So, like I said, it may be a non-issue. On top of that, and I know you may not be able to see, but there are 2 outs, 2 outs, 2 outs, 2 outs, 2 outs, and they're probably just at 1 inch apart. But that means that I've got liquid flowing at 90 degrees all the way around this system at multiple levels. My only big concern, and I dropped mine down to 0.375, and I felt that just did a better job. You know, to me, I'm still learning, so I could be dead wrong, but 0.375 looked great. I wasn't getting a lot of channeling. It looked good. My concern is that if I'm doing an 18 pound grain bill, which is what this is qualified for, or whatever you want to say, yeah, I could get channeling and not be able to see it easily. That's my only concern. So I'll have to dial that in, do a little more research. But like I said, it may not be a big issue, but it's something to be aware of. Number 3, taking a sample. There is no sampling port. I need like a 5-way valve, you know what I'm saying? So I can get some samples. But when you get a sample, you're probably gonna get little bits of grain. Not a big deal. I know it seems minor and petty even, but I'm trying to give you some cons on things that annoyed me, or I was like, I gotta figure that out, or frustrated me. So that's what, yeah, you're sampling, you're probably gonna get some grains. Why are you getting a sample? I was doing a pH test, of course, but something to be aware of. Now this one, I'm gonna have to show you a video over here so you can, or over there somewhere, so you can see what I'm talking about. The system is really designed to do 5 gallons, and I'd like to tell you that it's a limit, but you know, where there's a will, there's a way. The problem I had is when the grain basket was dripping, I may have had less than a ½ inch. It might have even been a ¼ inch from the top of the liquid as the grains are dripping. 2 alternatives. If you wanted to do a 6-gallon batch, which I know the system could definitely do, you either take the grain basket out and you let it drip somewhere else, which is gonna make a little bit of a mess, or you could run some of the liquid into another pot, leave it there while you're rinsing your grains, getting everything done, and then dump it back in for the boil. 2 alternatives, 2 workarounds. I think we all know on the Anvil Foundry, when you're doing a 6-gallon batch, if you're doing a high grain bill, you know, you gotta kind of be careful about it. So it's the same thing. There's just, you gotta think outside the box a little bit, or outside of the kettle. I know that was only 4 cons, and like I said, some of them are easily fixable, some are just little annoyances, and some are kind of more of a be aware of. Yes, so now's the list of items to be aware of. Things that may interest people looking to buy the system. Blichmann BrewEasy Compact, you gotta go, what do I need? What do I not need? Well, one of the first things I knew right away was, I need somewhere to put this for brewing. I do not recommend setting something this nice on the ground. Just no, don't do it. What I'm gonna recommend, and if I have a good picture of mine, I'll put it up here. If not, I'll put a picture from Amazon. I bought a nice stainless steel table with a shelf and wheels. It was very inexpensive. I'm not gonna quote price because I don't remember off the top of my head, plus it changes sometimes. I will tell you, mine came with a lot of dents, or minor dents, a couple minor dents, and I don't like the welds. I think the welds are kind of cheaply done, but you know what? It was very inexpensive, and that was the key, and it works great for the system and all of the tools and equipment, and gives me a shelf to put stuff under. I like it a lot, but I highly recommend, if you don't have a table, you're gonna need a table. And why I say stainless steel, you don't wanna put this on a wood table, you're bringing it up to boil. Yeah, don't do that. Trust me, you need a table. Now, if you got granite countertops, that's your call. But yeah, you need a good table. I will put a link down below, so if you decide you want to buy one, definitely hook me up. If not, click on the link and you can go shopping to do a comparison. If you want something without dents, you want better welds, you're gonna have to spend some serious money. That's up to you. I'm trying to keep your costs down. So, number 2, this is remember to be aware of. Usually on the Anvil Foundry, you're looking at about a ¼ gallon for every 30 minutes on boil off at a 110, 120. If you're on the 240 system, you're looking at about a ½ gallon, if I remember right, per 30 minutes. Yeah, this thing's been putting out about 3/4 of a gallon boil off. Now I do have the 240 system. If you have the 110, 120, your mileage may vary, but I mean, I got the beast of a plug here. You know, I'm just saying, your boil off's gonna be a little high. So you need to be aware of it. I need to do some boil off tests because I keep missing the mark and ending up almost a ½ gallon shy each time on my total 5 gallons. And luckily, it's all good. My efficiencies are still pretty decent. So number 3, I would highly recommend stirring the grains every 15 to 20 minutes. I do recommend using a plastic spoon. I have it somewhere around here. I can't find it. Don't use a metal one. This thing is a beast, but if you're banging against that netting constantly and you brew a lot, you're gonna eventually damage it probably. So, and I say probably because I don't really know. I'm trying to play it safe, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, Blichmann does recommend stirring the grains every 15 minutes. I did it. It was great, no big deal. Took a few seconds of my life, but yeah, just something to be aware of. Number 4, probably don't need this in here, but I threw it in here because I was talking about the boil off and my first brew on the system, not knowing what I'm really doing because I was still learning. I understood what to do, but I didn't know what to do. You know, it wasn't comfortable. I got a 75% brew house efficiency, which was fine. I think it was like 75.4, something like that. But I only had 4.5 gallons instead of 5, which is what I was going for. And I had to add 64 ounces, top it off. But that was taken into consideration with the efficiencies. I've, you know, backed it out, put it back in, checked the numbers, and I was all good. But yeah, it's that boil off thing. But the efficiencies, I mean, to hit 75 on a first brew, I was very happy. Number 5, and I kind of hinted on this already, I do not recommend a metal spoon or a metal anything inside this thing when you have the basket in there. Plastic is fine, just good quality plastic. You don't want to damage anything. And there are so many nice parts that are heavy duty, but you know, metal against metal, eventually there's going to be some damage. So just something to be aware of. Number 6, and this has to go with one of my phobias. Okay, it's one of the reasons I like immersion chillers is I'm terrified that I'm going to end up with something inside of things like your counter chillers, counterflow chillers, or plate chillers. So this is something I highly recommend. Now Blichmann recommends that, you know, yeah, that just happened. I swear I got all the water. I've been shaking this thing off and on over time, and I guess I didn't. But hey, it's okay, it's water. But Blichmann recommends that you either run your hot wort through it first, or you know, clean it, sanitize it as much as you can before you put it to use. I just clean it out with some Star San each time just before the brew. It does a great job. But what I do right after the brew is what's important. I take a garden hose and I put the jet sprayer on it through both sides. And then I'll run some Star San and everything through it, clean it up really good. PBW, actually before the Star San on the cleaning day. But yeah, and then I clear it out again. I do a little Star San, let it sit for a little bit, blow it back out again. It's easy to clean, but you want to make sure it's clean before you brew. It only takes a few minutes. It's not a big deal. I already covered number 7. I kind of lumped it into number 6, but basically running uncooled wort through your plate chiller before you're actually running your final wort, or doing a Star San before you actually put it to use. Yeah. Number 8, I covered this too, but not as in detail. A hose with a jet sprayer, not just for your Therminator, but for your pump. That way, if you don't want to take it apart every single time you brew and clean it inside, kind of recommend it, but I do them about every other time. But yeah, jet sprayer, boom, boom, jet sprayer through all of these. It just makes my life so much easier. It just gets everything super clean. It just gets it in and out. I'm not having to just flow the water. It's getting it through, getting some turbulence in there, getting things broken up. So yeah, jet sprayer. If you don't have one, you need one. If you don't have one, I don't know what to tell you. Most people I would think would have one of those. Just saying. Number 9, sparge. This thing needs something to help displace the water, because otherwise you're doing it old school and you're trying to pour it, and it's very hard to get it as even as possible. I was looking at watering cans, you know, for your flowers. I'm thinking if I could get a metal one, a really good metal one that's not painted inside, that can tolerate heat of about 170 Fahrenheit, I'd be set. I have an option I'm looking at, but I'm trying to figure that one out. If anybody knows something to solve that problem, let me know, because that thing would just be the perfect little sparging tool, you know what I'm saying? Number 10, this is kind of a bonus, I guess. Just like for the people with the brew in a bag. You can squeeze the grains. Yeah, you can push it down. Be careful, but push it down. I was getting a lot of extra liquid just pushing down on some of the grains. It's not gonna constantly drip. You're not gonna get all that liquid, but if you push it down a little bit, you're gonna squeeze the grains and you're gonna get that liquid out. Be careful, like I said, you know, it is quality, but beat on it enough and you could have some issues. So, you know, don't sit there and push down 100 and 200, 300 pounds of weight on that bad boy. So, and number 11. Number 11 is the one you were waiting for. This one was from Brian. Thank you, Brian. From Short Circuit at Brewers, sorry. He mentioned this. He just mentioned it and thought it would be a great thing, but he didn't say do it, disclaimer there, Brian, you did not say do this, you just said, hey, this would also probably be great for hops. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you straight up, don't do it. Do not do it, do not do it, do not do it. I thought that was a brilliant idea. And on my first brew, didn't have very much hops. No big deal, didn't think anything of it, didn't use it. On the second brew, I had 3 ounces of, I believe 3 ounces of hops, which really isn't that much. But I'm thinking, you know what? I'm gonna do what Brian said. This is gonna be great. I'm gonna dump this, clean it out really good, throw my hops in there. So I put it in, the first ounce and a half of hops, not a big deal. Then I went to add the next ounce and a half. Yeah, I don't know if this is 300 micron or maybe even lower. It clogged up almost immediately. And the liquid started boiling up around the sides. Yeah, I had almost no liquid in here. I mean, it was crazy. It was almost like it just siphoned the liquid out. It was down here somewhere with the hops and the liquid, and all of this was covered. And the liquid was just coming up around the sides, boiling, and I'm like, okay, that's really bad. I don't ever want to do that again. I will not do that again. So yeah, it was a great suggestion in my eyes, but don't do it, Brian, don't do it. Unless you want to test it, and your mileage may vary, but I will never do that again because I almost had a major boil over. So, and Blichmann, disclaimer, does not have any documentation recommending you use this as a hop basket of any kind. So that is definitely something to be aware of. A few little bonus things. I didn't even put this information out there. I was thinking about it as I was setting up and everything. This PBW and Star Sand is all I use, and that hose, to clean everything. And looking at it, you know, I got a little dust sitting up on here, but that's only from a week. So it really is easy to clean. When you're moving everything over, you have this to monitor your temperatures, which is great. And they send you, it's included, an extension cable. I haven't needed this. I kind of feel bad they included this. I'm thinking minus this, and it was some other thing I'm thinking minus, and maybe instead I could get the little 3-way valve in there. But yeah, it's nice to have though. I may need it at the new house. I don't know yet. But yeah, and don't forget too when you're cleaning, yeah. So I didn't take everything apart since the second brew. I would normally take everything apart and clean it after the second brew. I'll probably do it after the third brew. But that's another thing I would recommend is, you know, if you're brewing all the time, just clean it out really good. Don't have to disassemble everything. But ever so many brews, maybe every 2 brews, recommend it from me. 3 if you're pushing it. Beyond that, that's all you. I would take everything apart and clean it. I will tell you, when I went to take this thing off over here where the recirc normally is after 2 brews, I had to force it off. It was stuck from a little bit of dried wort that was in there that I guess the cleaning didn't get to. So yeah, just something to be aware of. I appreciate everybody out there. Don't forget, like, subscribe, keep sharing. Thank you for joining. Hopefully this was beneficial. Hopefully it was helpful. It's a great system. I'm gonna keep using it and learning each time something new, hopefully, and I'll share that with you at the end of the year, maybe once I get enough brews under my belt and feel that I'm like a wizard at that thing and can do it in my sleep. So thank you again for joining us here at Bitter Reality Brewing. Cheers.